influencer Trevor Jacob did something extremely stupid. And now he's spending 6 months in federal prison for it. What did he do?
He crashed a plane on purpose by jumping out of it midair and filmed the whole thing. So, according to court records, after the plane crashed, Trevor reported. He claimed that the plane simply lost power.
But then Trevor seemed to realize that crashing a plane on purpose was a major boo-boo. So he got spooked and made things so much worse for himself.
He had a friend fly to the crash site in a helicopter and airlift the wreckage out of a mountain and onto Trevor's pickup truck,
where he then proceeded to cut it up and dispose of it at different locations over several days.
Straight up like a dead body. Perhaps most stupid of all, Trevor still decided to post the video of it because he apparently had like a wallet to promote for a brand deal.
But federal investigators, as it turns out, are not dumb, and it was pretty clear from the video that it was planned and not an accident.
Okay, so the law obviously doesn't want you crashing planes on purpose, even in really remote areas, because the plane could end up on some unsuspecting hiker or an endangered bald eagle, I don't know.
But the actual reason that Trevor is spending time in federal prison is that he lied to federal investigators and destroyed evidence, which is a super duper no-no.
The crime he was actually charged with can carry a 20-year sentence, so he's pretty lucky to only get 6 months.
100 million Americans currently have criminal records.
And even minor records from decades ago can prevent people from accessing loans, housing, education, and jobs. For example, studies have shown that people with criminal records are 60% less likely to get a callback after applying for a job.
This is a big problem.
For everyone.
Keeping such a huge portion of our population entrenched in the cycle of poverty by restricting access to jobs and education is really bad for society as a whole.
Fortunately, around 1/3 of people with criminal records are currently eligible for expungement, which is a legal process that completely removes a person's criminal record.
But expungement laws are extremely confusing. Many of those who are eligible don't even realize it. And lawyers will typically charge $2,000 to $3,000 to complete the process.
All of this together means that only 10% of eligible people have actually had their records expunged.
Even though they've legally earned the right to clear their name. Rasa is a company that can help.
This is not a paid ad. This is just a really important issue and a great service we've come across. Rasa makes the process of clearing a criminal record simple and affordable.
Users have access to an app that tells them within 3 minutes whether their record is eligible for expungement. And if it is, Rasa uses software to assist with all the messy legal paperwork,
allowing them to offer legal representation for an expungement at a fraction of the normal cost.
While Rasa is just in Utah now, it's planning to expand its services around the country. The state of Arizona will be their second state, where they're planning to launch services on December 6th. Follow Rasa on other platforms to learn more.
I've gotten so many questions lately about the amount of fentanyl found in George Floyd's autopsy, and tons of people are claiming it was the fentanyl that actually killed him.
So what actually happened here, legally? The answer might not be what you think. Floyd's official autopsy showed that he had 11 nanograms per milliliter of fentanyl in his system, as well as methamphetamine and THC. The autopsy further notes that he had COVID, hypertension, heart disease, and clogged arteries.
Now, some people seem to think that the autopsy showing this much fentanyl is some kind of new bombshell, but that's not actually true. This is the exact same autopsy that was presented during the murder trial, and the 11 nanograms of fentanyl was heavily discussed.
So what is a lethal dose of fentanyl? It depends. As noted by the medical examiner, 11 nanograms of fentanyl is high, and some experts even say that 3 nanograms can be fatal.
But experts also say that different people can tolerate fentanyl at much higher levels. And this is where the law often becomes a battle of the experts. To counter the high levels of fentanyl found in Floyd's system, the prosecution at trial called several medical experts to testify, all of whom said this was not a fatal dose for Floyd specifically.
Most important was the testimony of one toxicologist who showed this chart. It's kind of hard to read, but it basically shows that numerous people with Floyd's level of fentanyl have been arrested for DUI and still live. People have even survived with levels 5 times higher.
So, returning to the question of what is a lethal dose. In a trial, that question is really a matter for the jury to decide. The jury will listen to the experts presented by the defense and the prosecution and come to their own conclusions about what killed someone.
And in this case, the jury said it wasn't fentanyl or any other drug, but rather the compression on his neck caused by Derek Chauvin.
The biggest legal idiot of the year award goes to this guy.
A few minutes later.
Okay, so many things here. Everything actually gets dumber and dumber the more you analyze it. First of all, the law requires that you yield the right-of-way to any emergency vehicle with their lights on, which this man clearly did not do.
When the fire truck had already pulled out into the road, the man, for some inexplicable reason, still pulls forward and blocks its path. Now, perhaps this delusional man thought he was the true alpha male of the world and thought he had a legal right to be in that road. Fire truck be damned. But even that's not true. Because if you look again, he crosses a double yellow line trying to get around the traffic up ahead, which is also illegal.
The final stupid thing that this man did was post this video on the internet thinking that we would all agree with him.
But if it makes everyone feel better, reports say that the police showed up and did give him a ticket. Philadelphia has stirred up some controversy with a new law that bans wearing ski masks, also called shiesties, named after the rapper Pooh Shiesty. Good Lord, I'm old. I've never heard of any of this.
Anyway, the city council says that this law is needed to combat the high levels of violent crime and theft in the city. But there are a lot of opponents, and many of them think that the law is racist, because these ski masks are most commonly worn by young black males.
But supporters of the law say there's nothing racial about ski masks, and point out that the law was drafted by a black council member and ultimately passed by the majority black council.
Others simply point to the irony of banning masks when they were required not that long ago due to the pandemic. So is this law constitutional? Well, the law bans ski masks in schools, rec centers, daycares, city buildings, city parks, and public transportation.
But it does not apply to masks worn for religious purposes, jobs that require face protection, winter sports, or people lawfully protesting. Anti-mask laws actually aren't a new thing. Before COVID, 18 states had such laws. In another bit of irony, they were originally passed to stop the KKK from wearing masks to hide their identity.
So, given the long history of anti-mask laws, and the fact that this law is pretty specific and includes some important exceptions, it's probably constitutional.
Because, remember, governments can pass really restrictive laws as long as they have a really good reason for doing so. And the city council here actually included a preamble in the law describing how ski masks have recently been used to conceal identities during heinous crimes and made police work way more difficult.
So perhaps the better question isn't whether this law is constitutional, but whether it will be enforced constitutionally. Basically, if police use this law as a pretext to stop and investigate black individuals who wear ski masks, but don't bother white individuals who wear them, that would be unconstitutional.